So today we're really talking about, selling and buying rental properties, dealing with ownership changes. I got a few tips and tricks on that. Just going through that so you don't lose your mind or the tenant. Ultimately, we don't want to lose the tenant during this transaction. Kind of our key players in this is the current owner. They're always wanting the most amount of money that they can yesterday. We have the new owner who wants to do tons of inspections, but wants to keep the tenant happy and stay in place. But they're also wanting to do repairs to the property so that's in good condition, so whenever they do buy it, it's ready to go. We have the tenant who just wants to live there in peace and probably get some type of concession discount for all the inconveniences that they're going through during this sale. The realtor who wants to schedule 50,000 showings and is in it just to get paid. And then the property manager, which we have a few in here, the hero caught in the middle, armed with nothing but their personal calendar and probably not getting paid for this transaction because they are the property manager, not the realtor. So it's like a whole bunch of people juggling the ball together. Have y'all been in that situation before? Yes. Does it get pretty crazy?
Well, my boss at the time sold over like 300 houses that I was managing, so yeah, I got real crazy.
Okay, I'm gonna shut this door. Maybe that would help. All right, so the property manager or you, the owner, you're mission control. You're the one in charge of everything. You have all the key documents, the lease agreement, the tenant information, the rental rates, the deposit, and you have to share all that with the realtor with the owner's consent. Y'all do know that you need owner's consent, right? If you're managing for someone else, you need their consent to share all these documents to someone else. So make sure you're getting consent before you just share documents. If you're the owner of the property selling it, I guess you don't need your own consent, so you're good there. The property manager is usually the gatekeeper. They're the ones with all this information, and they can't share until they get permission to share. You also have to inform the tenant. You need to give them a heads up of what's going on so that they're not surprised by the sale. And that's probably the key part. You got to communicate with the tenant. Having a tenant that doesn't respond is going to screw up this whole deal, which some of y'all have probably dealt with before. And the property manager is usually the person communicating back with the tenant and the realtor with a lot of aspects. So communication is key during this stage. A few things that your realtor really needs to know. They're the ones responsible for scheduling the showings, the inspections, the appraisal, and even ghost hunters. They're responsible for it all. Most of y'all that are property managers, you're getting paid to do property management activities, not realtor activities. Does that make sense? And so you need to keep it separated. So the realtor's in charge of doing the realtor stuff, which is scheduling showings and all that stuff associated with it. One of the biggest things that I run into when dealing with a sale or buying is the contract. No one reads the contract. How many of y'all have tenants that read the contract? No one. Same thing on the sell side. No one reads the contract. There's two sections of the contract that are super important when you're selling a property. And this is using the 1-to-4 family residential contract that all realtors are using. It's section 13, which is prorations, and section 4, which is residential leases. So those are the two main things that you really need to understand. You, the manager, the owner, and the realtor need to really understand those two sections of the contract. And again, communication. We got to keep everyone in the loop. The realtor really needs to provide the property manager updates of what's going on. Diving into section 4 of the contract when it's talking about leases. This is pulled straight out of the contract here. Basically what it's saying is that you have a lease on the property And so you need to check it off. If you also have a vacant property, the new buyer has to approve before you actually lease out the property. So this is crucial. If you have a vacant unit, like let's say it's a duplex, and one side's occupied, one side's vacant, you as the property manager can't just lease out the B unit without approval if it's under contract. And so you just got to be mindful of what the contract says. Has everyone read this? Like in the lease, or not the lease, the contract before? Has anyone dealt with this before? You have? What's your example there?
Well, I do it every day, and that right there is the number one thing that, especially if a tenant is buying it,
Mm-hmm.
like everybody has to be on the same page with that. But take it a step further, and that tenant, you have to know what they paid, what they haven't paid. Are you gonna go over estoppels?
Probably not.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is one of the most important ones to add to all of this.
Yeah.
Because that estoppel, whenever you put that in the contract, that it's required, like 2 to 3 days before closing, that's the only thing that you have that has how much that tenant's paid in a lease, how much that tenant is it refundable, non-refundable? Was it a pet fee, a pet deposit? Was it they paid 12 months rent up front? Like that's the only way that everybody's gonna know to keep you on track for closing. Because if you don't have that, it's he said, she said, and that owner can be going, well, or the tenant can say, well, I've already paid rent for a year.
So it does kind of tie into my next thing, which is prorations at closing. Per the contract, you're supposed to prorate all the deposits, and you got to prorate the rent at closing. It's in the contract. You're supposed to do that. What happens when you don't do that at closing? Anyone know the answer? It's between the new owner and the old owner. Not my problem. Y'all missed it. Me as the property manager, don't come calling to me, hey, you have the deposits, did you transfer it? No, not my problem. It needs to be transferred on the settlement statement at closing. I know sometimes lenders don't like to see that because it screws up the numbers. I don't know exactly how they're doing that because it's actually in the contract that you have to do that. But in that case, it's between the new owner and the old owner, not the realtor, not the property manager. It's supposed to be transferred at closing.
And not the tenant.
And what's that?
And not the tenant.
So again, keeping the owner on track and the realtor on track, deposits and prorated rents are handled at closing. I've already said this 3 times already. Now y'all say it. At closing. Every time it doesn't happen at closing is when I run into issues. And I'm just saying it's not my problem. That was part of the contract. Review the contract. Again, I've already explained this before. You got to know what the contract says. Also, if there's like a vacant unit involved and that you're selling a property, whether you're the realtor, the owner, or the landlord, what was negotiated in that contract for maybe that vacant unit? Maybe that tenant just moved out right before closing. Are we supposed to fix it up, do a make ready? Do we just hand it over as is? Does anyone know? Most of the time, no one knows. And so it just sits there like, what are we supposed to do with it? And so you need to understand what the contract says.
Can I add to that while you're on that topic?
Yep.
If you, as a property manager, have open bills that need to be paid from vendors, those also need to go to closing.
Yep.
If they don't go to closing and that vendor puts a lien on the house afterwards, they're gonna come back and ask why that wasn't.
Which is my next step. Patient with, well, no, you're exactly right. The final account statement is what we call it at Minix. We hold the funds for additional 60 days after closing, just to make sure that none of those pending invoices hit late. And so you are right. We actually work with the title company all the time and send them invoices just to make sure everyone gets paid. And so you need to be patient on releasing all the funds to the owner whenever it's in a sell situation. You're exactly right. And here's the biggest thing. Tenants, this is nothing but an inconvenience for them. They gain nothing from this. They have to deal with all the showings, the inspections. They have to skip out work to come home to let everyone in. The constant showings, they don't know what's going to happen to them in the future. Hopefully they're in an actual lease and not month to month. And so the tenants are usually the problem because they gain nothing from this. And so a happy tenant will cause for a smoother sale, 100%. An unhappy tenant, they're going to learn how to play the bagpipes and play it during all your showings and just cause problems. So how do you win and influence tenants? First of all, just a simple thank you. Let them know that this is going to be an inconvenience. Ask them for their cooperation. I like to promote gift cards. Like, hey, I know this is an inconvenience for you. Let me buy y'all like a really nice dinner, and you just give them a gift card to their favorite restaurant, whatever. Let them pick. They may want to do some type of rent concession for the inconvenience. Again, a happy tenant will make this sell. An upset tenant will not allow showings, won't let people in. It's going to be a pain in the butt to sell that property. And so you want to get on the tenant's good side. I also recommend that the realtor goes and physically introduce themselves to the tenant and then start talking like, when is it best time to show the property? You know, are you available just like 3 days a week during these timeframes? Then schedule all the showings during those timeframes. And so try to figure out a schedule that works with the tenant and work with that with everyone. Again, you want to make it easy for the tenants. Has anyone had any experience with tenants not cooperating? This too? It doesn't go smooth when they don't cooperate at all. So you got to get on their good side up front. A few things that you all have to be mindful of. When the property does sell, like when it actually closes, there's a few rules that we have to follow as property managers. We have to notify the tenants who to contact, who the new manager is. You have to, it's the law. And so you have to communicate with your realtor and the new owner, like who are they hiring to manage the property? Is it just gonna be them, or is it a new property management company? You need all that information because you have to tell the tenants who to call. You're gonna have to send the lease over, the tenant information, their ledger. You gotta transfer all that stuff over to the new owner or new property management company. And again, kind of what we're talking about, you as the property manager gotta start the final accounting statement. Make sure all those invoices are paid. If you missed anything, and it's already closed, you may be in trouble. So you have to be on top of that because it will result in a lien.
Someone puts the lien on the property.
So
So if I buy a property, they've already had a lien on it before, they know that.
Well, if it's before, the title company.
yeah, if it's before, you should have found that at the title company. I got a perfect example for this. We had an owner approve a HVAC replacement. It was $5,000. This was like 10 years ago. The property sold. The owner approved the HVAC replacement to get it sold, but the HVAC tech forgot to invoice it and we got it 6 months later. That HVAC tech did not get paid. And so he went and he put a lien on the property, just like you said.
I've never had that happen.
But the new owner never approved it. It was the old owner, but the old owner's already been paid, done, gone. And so this HVAC tech basically ate $5,000.
As a property manager, you may not always know what the realtors are negotiating.
That's why communication is key, 100%. You really have to communicate with the tenants to get on their best side. You really have to understand what the owner and the realtor are negotiating. Just like I said, if a property comes vacant, are you supposed to do the make ready, not do the make ready? Are you supposed to replace the HVAC, not replace it? You don't know what's going on, so you have to communicate with the realtor. Again, communication, talk to everyone. You have to set clear expectations. I actually have a little checklist that goes out to both the owner and realtor for when a property goes up for sale. I would suggest that you create one just like that, just for yourself, just send out to everyone so that you're all clear of what's going on. And again, pointing out, you got to know the contract. Section 4 and Section 13. You need to know those things as it pertains to selling a property that's occupied with a lease. Any questions for me? I know that's kind of short and quick. I don't even know what time it is. Is it
20 minutes.
20 minutes? I went too fast. Okay. What? Absolutely, open it up for discussion. And so, what questions do you have for me? Nothing. So everyone's an expert on this. Got it.
And maybe I missed your introduction, but
I did not introduce myself, so that's probably where I sped through it. So I'm Wendell Burris. I'm out of Lubbock, Texas, and so I just drove in here today. I'm with Minix Property Management. We manage a lot of single-family homes, duplexes, and smaller apartments. Lubbock, Amarillo, Canyon, Midland, Odessa area. And so we are fee managers. We manage other people's properties for a management fee. And so a few of y'all I've known just because we've done business together and or we run into each other at like the TAA, the apartment association stuff. So Jordan, she's on my team. She runs our Amarillo division. And so y'all may know her a little bit more than me at this point. So maybe. And so that's who I am.
okay.
Yeah. I'm also an investor myself. I buy rental properties, and so I deal with this all the time. Just making sure that you understand the contract, everything's checked off. I like to speak to the tenants up front when I'm looking at buying a property just to see, what are they happy with, what are they not happy with, and see if I can maybe negotiate something to, maybe they're complaining about the fence. They never fix the fence. So I know that on the back of my mind, I need to probably focus on the fence because I want the tenant to stay. I don't want to create a vacancy. And so I just start negotiating stuff like that up front.
What about, we just bought one and, gosh, there's like 5, 6 people listed on the lease that live there, and there's no, how do you reevaluate, is it still the same people that live there? Is there, did any of those people even get background checks, right? If you're buying something and you're kind of getting a bag of worms and you're not even 100% sure what you're getting, that kind of thing.
It happens all the time.
Rights as a new owner to be able to be like, okay, now that this is our property, we would like to know a little bit more about it.
So when you're looking at buying a property, you should have access to the lease. Make sure it's a valid lease. Make sure it's a good lease, like the Texas Apartment Association lease. Also, like a clear ledger of what has been paid, not been paid, what are the deposits in place, so you kind of know. You usually don't have the right to the screening, the background check, right? Whoever did that can't share that information. And so you don't have access to that. So you have to just kind of rely that they did their job, which you don't know. So I like to look for a valid lease, a good lease. If it's a handwritten lease, you should really question it.
What if you want to run a background check on the new ones? Can you do, let's say you buy a property in June, their old lease with the old owner expires in December, but you're not comfortable with them there, you want to run your own stuff. Can you legally do that, or do you have to honor to the T the old lease? What legal rights do you have?
If the lease is in place, you have to honor that lease. So if they come up for renewal, at that point you can decide what you want to do. I don't think you can just run a background check just all willy-nilly. You're gonna have to ask for permission. They probably asked for, like during the application, there's usually a checkbox that they have to do. We're gonna run your credit report, blah, blah, blah. You probably have to ask that again and get permission just to run their background check.
But send it with their renewal letter as part of the package.
Yeah, and if you do that, great, you're covered.
To evict that tenant, you need that information though, right? The new tenant that's still in there, you need their.
Correct, and when you buy a property with a tenant in place, you're gonna get the lease, you're gonna get the tenant information, you're gonna get their ledger, so you're gonna have all that information. If you don't, and you have to go to eviction, that's when you just say all other occupants, right? So anyone in the property, you can do the eviction. But you should be getting all that information. It's when you're not getting that information, not a valid lease, you're not getting their contact information, the ledger's written on a napkin, that's probably where you run into problems. And of course, you'll be looking at this property, right? And so you'll be doing an inspection. You'll know if the tenants are trouble or not. I mean, it's pretty common sense. Are they taking care of their property or not? And so you'll figure it out real quick. So,
I've got another one for you.
yes.
For sale about a month ago were 5 duplexes.
Mm-hmm.
They were getting roofs done on a lot of them. They were owed $50,000 for the roofs from the insurance company. And the seller said, we'll convey that once it's received. How on earth would you deal with that in closing?
That's usually held in escrow. Who said that? You did, yeah. I see that all the time where it's all handled at closing and it's held in escrow. So the title company is going to be holding all the funds for just the roofs or whatever it is at that point. And so your title company.
No escrow if nothing had been received.
They'll hold the proceeds from that.
Yeah, the title company can hold proceeds and all that stuff.
Okay.
And so you'll deal with the title company at that
As long
point.
as it was listed on the closing contract through the title.
Yeah, was that negotiated? Is it in the contract? Yes. That's why you have to know your contract. What was negotiated? Absolutely. And if it's on there, then the title company can hold. And so you'll be covered there. Those are good questions.
Wendell, I know
Yeah.
it's a kind of a pain in the butt for property managers to go through this. Is there like, you guys charge a fee for that?
No, so just how we do it at Minix, I'm not saying that you have to follow suit or anything like that. If we're the manager, if you hire a realtor to come sell your property, that's where we hand it all off to the realtor to do the selling activities. We're not calling we're telling the tenant that it's going up for sale. The realtor's name is this. Just want to be mindful, let you know. But we're telling the realtor, you have to now go introduce yourself to the tenant, schedule the showings, the inspection, because we were hired for property management, not selling activities. Yes, I'm a licensed realtor, but I hold it for property management purposes, not for selling. And so if you want me to help out, then I'm going to charge a referral fee.
Be careful though, because it's in the management agreement too. It says it clearly, like on the management agreement, if you have any pre-made deals with the owner or whatever, it's in there. And I think you have to be careful because there are a few in town that will put it in their management agreement.
Yeah, our management agreement says 0, so we're not getting paid. So I'm not going to go do extra stuff and not get paid. Does that make sense? I mean, neither are you, right? If you want me to, absolutely. I want 25%. So, most of the time when I run into issues, honestly, it's on the realtor side, and I'm not picking out realtors. There's a lot of, they come and go, right? There's a lot of realtors that come and go. They don't know or understand the contract enough to prorate the rents, transfer the deposits, and so they're not checking the right boxes. And so just be mindful when you're working with any realtor that they know what they're doing. Nothing bad on them, they just probably don't know. And so just beware.
They haven't done investors. It's a different game than just a single family owner occupied house. So I know sure they understand, or give them a referral fee and find a realtor that does. Because it does make all the difference.
Not all realtors are created equal. Dealing with investment properties, rentals, is completely different than your traditional. So you just want to have a investor-friendly realtor that actually knows what they're doing. A good question to ask your realtor is if they own rental properties themselves. I'm not saying that that would determine all of it, but they'll at least have experience with it.
Now, I know you have to honor the lease that's in place, but do you have them sign a new lease with your information and like just basically transfer everything over, but now it says the new owner and, because we ran into about, that's what we were doing, it was honoring the same thing, but we were just having them sign, and they just, the tenant that was there was just, it was blowing their mind that we were asking them to sign a lease with us. Everything was the same.
Yep. We attempt, but we can't force.
Okay.
We want them on our lease.
Yeah.
Our standard lease.
Yeah, that's all we were trying to do.
Yeah. They may not understand it. You can't force them.
Okay.
But I do the same thing you're doing, try to get them on our standard lease.
Yeah.
We're not trying to pull one over. It's the same rate. It's the
Right.
same dates. Just, would you be willing to sign our lease? And so we try that, and yet we can't force it.
Okay.
That is definitely one thing you need to be mindful of. If they're not willing to sign your lease, what does their lease say? It may be different from your policies and how you operate. Their rent may be due on the 15th, not on the 1st. They may have different clauses, like another thing you need to be checking. Oh, that's a great question, because now I'm thinking of all kinds of stuff. Did it include landscaping? Like, was the old owner mowing the yard? Is that in the lease? I ran into that recently. It was not in the lease. And so we honored the lease, and now the tenant's upset that we're not mowing the yard anymore. But it wasn't in the lease. That was just so you need to be asking those questions. What all are you paying for? Are you changing the filters, landscaping? Are you doing anything outside of what's in the lease? Those are great questions to ask.
Are bills included?
Bills included, you're right. Because you never know.
Yeah, we just had one that, everything but the who we bought it from told us that all bills, that we paid all the bills. And so we're like, okay, so we went in and we switched all of them over to our company. And the tenant called me in just a frenzy because she was supposed to be paying the gas. The gas was in her name. And I was like, okay, and then went back and looked, but what was told to us was it's all of them, but sure enough, in the lease, it was that she was responsible for gas. So, that was on us that we didn't look at that. We just went by what the seller was telling us to do. So, but we're newbies, so,
Those are great questions. That's why I say you gotta really know what the lease says, what the contract says. You really have to know what's going on, what's actually negotiated and what's actually being done. Another thing that I think I did skip over, if you're buying a property and it's being managed by, let's say Minix Property Management, once it closes, we no longer represent you as your property manager. We were in a contract with the previous owner, not the new owner, so it stops immediately. And so you need to be aware that either you're going to be managing it yourself, or you need to have a new property manager in place, or you need to be speaking with like Minix beforehand that, hey, I want you to continue managing it, so that there's no downtime.
How do you handle it when the new tenant continues to talk to the old owner and the old management and comes back and keeps coming back? Well, I called Susie and she said that you're supposed to da-da-da. It's like, they don't own this property.
Yeah.
like it's.
I'm assuming you've told them that.
Yes. Yes, like, in writing, it's, like, how do you handle that, so?
I mean,
Vote your bad
Yeah,
luck.
I mean,
it is like,
Get it fixed.
But do you ever like have to, do you ever take it to the point of communicating with the old to be able to say, I need you to
Hey,
like, stop?
yes. Like if I start getting those, absolutely, I just tell them, hey, I know you're not the owner anymore. This is actually becoming a little bit stressful and things are getting mixed up. If the tenant reaches out to you, just tell them, sorry, I can't help you. You have to go to the new owner. That's all you need to say.
They've been renting from this person for, 5 years. I understand
Mhm.
human nature, but it's like, man, it makes it way more complicated than it has to be. And
It does. It does.
Like, you don't, like I said, with us being new, it's like, what are the boundaries of what you know, without it being civil of saying, hey, this is.
If you have it documented and if they get mad and try to sue you to some degree for not repairing something and they didn't actually notify you, but the wrong person, then it's documented. And so you just got to tell them, and then I would speak to the old owners like, hey, quit taking that, just tell them to call us.
Did you really want to sell this?
Yeah. Just stop,
Yeah.
stop.
Just stop. Just a no.
You want to relieve them from their burden of it also, so
Right.
you
Yeah.
just tell them to call me.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes they become good friends.
Mhm.
I've seen that happen, so they just like to talk. But then it causes problems because you're not getting notified of what's really happening. And so just,
And you walk into a drama thing that it's like.
you've been telling the wrong person the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a situation where our property management company that we used to use, they ran into one of their housekeepers. And once we took the property back to manage it ourselves, she was not happy. I mean, we just never could get along with her, so she ended up, we ended up getting rid of her, but it was not a pleasant situation.
Again, going to your statement, when you buy a new property and it has tenants in place, I do highly recommend that you try to get them on a new updated lease. Same amounts, same dates, don't change anything, but get onto your terms. It just makes things go maybe a little bit smoother.
Yeah. Yes.
When would that process take place?
I'd start it right away.
So before closing or right after closing?
Like, I'm the new owner. I just closed on this property and there's a tenant in place. I'm gonna be calling you as like, hey, just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Wendell. I'm your new property manager. I'm gonna text you over all my contact information. Any questions for me? This is where you pay rent. Upon closing, this is where you pay rent. And hey, also, I'm just looking at the lease. Would you be willing to renew your lease? I'll keep the same rental rate and same dates, but just get it on a updated lease that I'm familiar with, and just ask them and see if they're willing to do so, and then send it over to them.
So you would be backdating her lease per se? If you made it effective?
I mean, it would start at like, they said yes, it'd start the lease date today, but it would end
on their
the regular date.
Okay.
Yes. And I keep everything the same. Another thing they keep track of, what are the late fees? What are the late fees? Do y'all know that the late fee rules changed like 3 years ago? You can't just charge whatever you want. There's stipulations to that. Do you know how many leases I see and they're charging rates that are illegal?
Okay, what are the stipulations?
So if you're gonna charge a per day amount, just know that you have to, it's called the Safe Harbor Act, I believe. You're now gonna have to like show proof that the rate that you're charging is reasonable. And so I actually don't recommend like a daily rate.
Well, we charge $10 a day, so.
I don't recommend that. If you ever get in trouble, you're going to prove that it cost you $10 and you need receipts. You need it time-stamped on where and why it cost you $10 per day. 3 years ago, I say 3 years ago, it could have been 4, I don't remember. It's been a while. If it's 1 to 4 unit properties, you can charge 12% of the monthly rent as a late fee. That's actually what I would recommend, just me. Just on the, rent's due on the 1st, it's late on the 4th. On the 4th, we charge 12% of the monthly rent right then and there, boom, done. If it's an apartment complex with 5 or more, it's 10% is all that you can charge. I would not do a daily rate because if you ever get in trouble, you need documentation and receipts and prove that it cost you $10 per day.
Now, trouble, what do you mean by trouble? Like if they take us to court to sue us over late fees?
Yes.
Now go to civil court.
Now you have to prove, you have to bring documentation, receipts, and everything showing that it cost you $10. It was reasonable.
Okay, so say the tenant wins, seriously doubt it, we're gonna take fees.
You would have to, I don't know the rules, I'm not an attorney, just so you know. You're probably going to have to refund all late fees back from the start, plus a penalty. I don't know what that penalty is, and it's probably not 5 minutes. Okay, I finished 20 minutes ago, so, yeah. It can get ugly. Just go to the straight percentage. It makes life simple.
So don't charge a late fee until the 4th, and then just charge the whole thing.
Yes, 12% for 1 to 4 unit complex or single family, like your single family duplex up to a quadplex, 10% on a 5-plex or larger. That way you don't get in trouble. And it's just due all on the 4th. There's no per day, nothing like that. Just on the 4th, if you haven't paid rent, boom, 12%.
So you could plan on getting your rent on the 3rd instead of the 1st. So every time I tell somebody the late fees on the 4th, they don't pay.
We're earning lots of extra income from getting your late fees on the 4th.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it'll be due on the 1st, they'll pay on the 1st, as long as I tell them that, and if they read it and they see that it's not till they start paying on the 3rd.
Here's one that's security.
Well,
So-
I mean, I have those that are on the, and I have accommodated their due date for that, for when they get their check, but.
I would definitely recommend that everyone's on the TAA lease, which you get for being a member of the Panhandle Association. And their rent's due on the 1st. You get a 3-day grace period. It's late on the 4th. On the 4th, I think even on the lease, it shows a percentage. That's the one you check. If it's a single family, 12%, done.
It gives you the option.
Yeah. Don't do it per day, because now you have to document and prove. You may not get caught, but the second you do get caught, you're gonna have to prove yourself.
Tell me, I mean, as an owner standpoint and managing your own, I completely agree with the TA piece. But how do you feel, since you're a realtor as well, between the Texas Realtors Lease and the TAA? And why would you choose one over the other?
Yep.
We've contemplated it. I mean,
So you have the TAA lease and you have the TAR lease. The TAA lease is used, is the most widely used lease. 70% of all of Texas uses that lease. And so there's more of that leases out there than the TAR lease. All the constables and the judges are trained on the TAA lease, not the TAR lease.
so ours and Amarillo, I think, are pretty good with both of them.
They are probably pretty good with both of them, but when they're getting trained and updated, it's the TAA lease that they're getting updated and trained on. And it gets updated more than the TAR lease. Usually they're copying kind of what the TAA kind of does. And so it's used more and it's being trained on. And so everyone recognizes it. That's why I recommend it. And it's usually more in favor, in my opinion, to the landlord or the owner. So they're both good leases. They are.
Just do addendums for ours.
Yeah, it's just, I look at it as everyone's being trained on and everyone's using the TAA lease, so that's the one I would recommend. But I would not be mad at you if you used the TAR
I'm
lease.
just curious.
Yeah.
I mean, as an owner investor and you're managing, I absolutely agree because you can get a hold of that one.
Yep.
It's very thorough.
It's very thorough. There's a whole bunch of changes that are coming out for the new year. And so, what's that? Well, the eviction, laws have passed. And so now it's all being changed.
So exciting.
And so more to come on that. I'm not teaching anything on that, but that's going to be, no, that's going to, how much time do I have?
Like 3 minutes.
It's 3 minutes. Do y'all know about the new eviction changes that are coming up?
September 1st, right?
Some of it goes into effect, but I think most of it's really going to go in January 1st. They're currently updating the lease right now. There's a panel going on to include all the updates. Just know, like, your notice to vacate can be sent via electronic. No more having to deliver or post it to the front of the door, or actually on the inside of the door. You can now send it via text or email. You do have to have consent, but honestly, that's probably just going to be added as an addendum into the lease, so everyone's going to be signing off on it. And so that's going to save time. You can just email the notice to vacate. That's probably the biggest update that's going to be super beneficial. The next thing is for like your writ of possessions. Are all the constables here just doing all the writs here in Amarillo? So this is going to open it up to anyone who has been trained as a process server can do the writ. So are any of your constables behind? Like they get behind, right? Now this opens it up to where you can hire anyone who's been trained to basically do this, and so it'll speed that process up as well. And then they're also making it a little bit more strict if I'm losing my words here. When a tenant challenges the eviction, appeal. They're making the appeal a little bit more strict to where a tenant just can't go willy-nilly file the appeal just to buy more time. And so they're gonna have to perfect the appeal up front before it even goes into effect. And so that's gonna help us out as well. And so these eviction changes will make the eviction process faster, more streamlined, and really in the owner's, landlord's best interest. And so I'll leave it with that. So, okay. Thank y'all for coming. How'd I do?